The National Assembly has decided how to spend the next year's national budget of 559 trillion won. Compared to this year, the budget is larger by 46 trillion won. It includes 900 billion won for vaccination and damage support of COVID-19. But how is the national budget determined? Allocation of national budget. National budgets are determined and used following the process set by the law. The process in Korea is as follows: budget allocation, budget review and voting, budget execution, statement of accounts and auditing. Firstly, budget allocation refers to the process until the budget submission, which takes into account the probable amount of tax to be collected in the next year and where the money should be spent. The executive branch is responsible for this process. In Korea, until April 30th of every year, the Minister of Economy and Finance under the executive branch notifies budget allocation guidelines to ministers of each central government agency. Then, the minister of each central government agency submits a budget request by June 30th. Korea is a country with a separation of powers where the legislative, judiciary, and executive branches are independent. Still, the executive branch is responsible for budgeting. The opinions of the legislative and the judiciary branches are heard and discussed during the process. Budget review and voting. During the budget review, the National Assembly evaluates and decides on the submitted budget. This process of review ensures the separation of powers, especially in the legislative branch where representatives of citizens are gathered. They look closely at how people's taxes are being used. To be particular, the President reports to people on the government policy and budget expenditure guidelines for the next year. Afterward, the Standing Committee does a preliminary review of the budget proposals of government departments. Then, the budget bill is voted at a plenary session after a comprehensive review by the Special Committee on Budget and Accounts. The whole process must be done 30 days before January 1st. This is called the statutory deadline. So far, the statutory deadline had not been met due to confrontations between the ruling and the opposition parties. Fortunately, next year's budget bill passed the plenary session of the National Assembly on December 2nd of this year. Budget execution and the statement of accounts. Next, budget execution is using money according to what was determined by the National Assembly. The executive branch must execute the budget within the range permitted by the National Assembly. Also, the budget must be used following the prescribed clauses. After the execution of all budget, a statement of accounts takes place. In this process of statement of accounts, the collection and usage of tax per year are thoroughly examined. Based on a report on statement of accounts from each department, the Ministry of Economy and Finance writes the government report on the statement of accounts wherein the auditor audits the statement of accounts. Additionally, the Standing Committee does a preliminary review based on the report at the National Assembly before a comprehensive review by the Special Committee on Budget and Accounts takes place. After passing the review and voting of the plenary session, the process of the statement of accounts is completed. Now that we know about the process, we should pay attention to how our taxes will be used in the upcoming year. Questions. During which process does the National Assembly evaluates and decides on the submitted budget? 1. Budget allocation. 2. Budget review. 3. Budget execution. 4. Settlement of accounts. Answer. 3. Budget review. Explanation. Budget review is a process where the National Assembly evaluates and makes a decision on the submitted budget.